Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski, as we get things kicked off here on a Monday. It is Monday, September 9th, and we've got a lot to talk about today as we had our first full weekend of football here across the area, from high school to college to NFL, and we're going to talk about it all today. And like I said, we've got a lot to go through with Friday football, Saturday football, Sunday football. We even had Thursday football back when the NFL season started. Packers-Bears. We'll get to that game here in just a bit. We'll get you caught up on the Milwaukee Brewers as well. We'll squeeze in baseball. But again, this is mainly a jam-packed show full of football action today. And as I mentioned, Bears-Packers started out the season back on Thursday, and we will definitely talk Bears-Packers here in just a little bit. We are, though, going to start this week's Zaleski Sports Show from the high school scene, and high school football on Friday. And it was a busy week of high school football, all kinds of things going on, and we're going to start with the Stratford Tigers. Now, we're going to go through a lot of different scores and get you updated on things that you might have missed, or just recap some of the action from Friday. But what a lot of people were talking about over the weekend and still talking about here today, Monday morning, Stratford Tigers and the Tomahawk Hatchets took to the field on Friday night over in Stratford, and it was an 81-0 win as the number one ranked in Division 5, number one ranked Stratford Tigers took it to Tomahawk, again 81-0. Stratford defense allowed a negative, check this out folks, they allowed a negative 97 yards of offense. They pushed the Hatchets back almost a full football field by the time all the plays were said and done, called and ran, out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, negative 97 yards. I'll just give you a moment to let that sink in, and what a defensive effort that was, as the Stratford Tigers moved to 3-0 on the season. Again, the number one ranked in Division 5. Stratford Tigers, they scored 3 safeties in the game. 3 times they tackled the Hatchets in their own end zone. You talk about a defensive performance. But this has garnered a lot of attention around the area over the weekend. And I'm just going to lay out the facts for you. Form your own opinion. I think after you hear the facts, you'll know where I stand on this. But a lot of folks talking about that. How, in the name of sportsmanship, can a team win 81-0? And then along those same lines, how in the world is it possible that you could force another team to negative 97 total yards of offense? And before everybody gets up in a lather, and this has been the discussion after those questions, is to realize Coach Tubbs and the rest of the coaching staff had the starters sit for almost 3 full quarters. The starters were on the bench, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So for those that are out there crying sportsmanship, are you supposed to just kneel the ball and hand it back to Tomahawk at this point? Is it the idea that the second, third string, backups, there were probably kids in the game in the fourth quarter that were playing maybe for the first time this year, and if not for the first time, some of them probably playing positions they had never played before. Are you supposed to go out in there and tell them, hey, I know this is maybe some of your first action you've had all year, but don't play that hard? I don't know. I don't think that's the message you can give. I mean, you talk about sportsmanship, and that is certainly not what you can tell a high school football player, especially one that, again, is getting into the game, and you're attempting as a coach, your attempt at that point when you're up big, especially in the second half. And listen, folks, the clock's already running. A WIA rule states that when you're up by 35 points in the second half or more, the clock runs and only stops after a score or a timeout. So incomplete pass, a run out of bounds, the clock just keeps running. So that part of the sportsmanship is already taken care of. The game pace is quickened. The game is shortened. And then you in the name of sportsmanship and for your coach, you're thinking long term, not this game anymore. It looks like this game is won, so I'm thinking long term. I may need these kids later. Things happen in football, injuries, other things happen where I may need these kids later on to perform. I need to get them action. There is a huge difference between preparation on a practice field, folks, and what it's like to play in a competitive situation. The lights are on, the parents, friends, family, media, all in the stands in the press box looking down at you. That's a whole different situation. And you want to get that game, that actual live game action competition experience to everybody on your team. So Stratford 81-0, as it turns out, over the Tomahawk Hatchets. They will no doubt retain their number one ranking in Division 5. And as we take a look at other scores here from around the area, back on Friday, a couple teams getting wins for the first time in this 2019 season. Spencer Columbus 55-0 over Fall Creek. The Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln Red Raiders, their first win of the year, as they went down to Oshkosh down at Titan Stadium and took care of the Oshkosh North Spartans 27-9. Now, there are a couple other teams just keep clicking along here. The number 2 ranked Edgar Wildcats took care of Auburndale 27-0. Marshfield took a trip out to Hortonville. It was an interesting game. I happened to be at that game in the second half, got there at halftime, and Hortonville was up 9-7 at half. I thought, all right, we got a game here. Marshfield scores a quick third quarter touchdown. They take the lead 14-9. Next Marshfield possession is a punt blocked by the Polar Bears, return for a touchdown, and Hortonville scores 20 straight. They beat Marshfield 29-14. Again, that was a 14-9 score early into the third quarter. Other ranked teams from the area in action over in Division 6. The number 4 ranked Abbotsford Falcons had a road trip over at Loyal. They win 35-28. Loyal with a little bit of a surge at the end, but not able to get all the way there. I think that game was something like 28-6, and then again ends at 35-8. The Athens Blue Jays take care of the Owen Withee squad 55-32. Pittsville over Pacelli 36-18. Can we take a look through some of these other scores? Iola Scandinavia, mentioned teams getting their first wins of the year. Iola Scandinavia took down Wyowega Fremont 40-6. And the Wausau East, the Lumberjacks, and I know a lot of you may be listening here, not maybe too familiar with Wausau East over the years, and rightfully so. They've been kind of off the map. They have really struggled during the last few years. They are 3-0 to start the season as they beat Mosinee 45-44. And if I heard right, it was a last-second win for the Jacks over there. The game was played in Mosinee. Thorpe took care of Assumption 48-0. And Greenwood. The Greenwood Indians start out 3-0 here in 2019 in a overtime thriller, 26-20. And then wrapping up thoughts on high school football here today, Neilsville Granton 41, Colfax 0. The Warriors 2-0 here to start out in 2019. I mentioned wrapping up here. And I know Colby was a winner on Friday as well. Colby ranked number 5 over in Division 5. They moved to 3-0 on the year. So a lot of stuff already happening in high school football. There's Week 3 roundup, kind of a quicker pace around the action. But what that means, folks, is we are 3 weeks now past of high school football. That means we're a third of the way through already. And it's just the first Friday here in in September. But high school football just flying right by. And, of course, we had a look around the area at volleyball. And we'll briefly touch on that, and then we'll move back to NFL football. But volleyball action this week, if there's volleyball fans out there, and you should be, volleyball is every bit, girls volleyball here in central Wisconsin, every bit as exciting as football, if not even more at times. And we've got a ranked team right here in the area, the Stratford Tigers. Again, they've been to 2 straight state tournaments, state runner-up in 2018, just last year. And the Stratford Tigers are back at it again. They're a ranked team again this year. It's early in the season. Columbus Catholic also a ranked squad here in the area, but the Stratford Tigers got something going on up there again, and they've got 2 home matches. That's what I'm getting at here. They've got a home match on Tuesday against Edgar, and then on Thursday it is going to be Bedlam up in Stratford as the Marshfield Tigers travel to take on the Stratford Tigers. That's Thursday at 7 p.m. That game will be live on ZaleskiSports.com. We'll have highlights of that Edgar Stratford volleyball match just to get your taste buds ready for the big one Thursday. We'll have highlights Stratford volleyball Tuesday, and then the live match on Thursday. So that's volleyball coming up this week. Make sure to tune in. All right, let's move over to the NFL. And Thursday seems like a long time ago. Seems like a long, long time ago as the NFL season started back on Thursday over in Chicago. And it was a Green Bay Packer win. And hold on to your hats. I know we started the show and I told you about a 81-0 game in high school football. Well, we had a 10-3 game to start the NFL season, and Packer fans rejoice. Again, your team was on the winning end of that, as I'm sure most of you were watching from somewhere. Some of you probably over in Chicago. I know a few from the area that found their way down to Soldier Field in Chicago. So I don't think I'm surprising anybody by telling you the score, 10-3. How about this, though? 17 punts in the game. So you think, well, 10-3, that's a low-scoring game. Was it boring? It depends. It depends what style of football you're into. A lot of folks probably didn't find this boring at all. Those were the kind that were just, hey, football is here, thankfully. NFL football is back. This waste of a preseason is done. We get to play a real game, and then the real game to some other people still looked like a preseason game. But 17 punts in the game, as both teams had trouble getting the offense in gear. And it was the Bears who scored first, first quarter field goal, 3-0, and then Aaron Rodgers pass to Jimmy Graham, 8-yard touchdown pass. And Chicago had 12 on the field, so couldn't stop the Packers even with 12. Took them just 4 plays, 74 yards to get down the field. And then Green Bay, I guess, put the icing on in the fourth quarter. Another field goal as they go up 10-3, and that was it. And that was it. The game ended. Chicago really struggled on offense. I don't know exactly what's going on in what's going to happen with the Bears. Think about this, folks. The Bears scored 3 points. All right, now that's not good. I don't know what you know about NFL football or what you care. 3 points, not good. 0, even worse, but 3 points, not good. And then you say to me, well, and then the Chicago quarterback threw the ball 45 times. He threw it 45 times, and you scored 3 points. So Packer defense had a lot to do with that. The upstart Packer defense, but Trubisky, 45 passes. Nobody running for the Bears. Leading rusher had 19 yards. Bad news Bears as far as that's concerned. Rodgers a little bit better. Still, though, 10 points. He threw the ball 30 times. Sacked a couple, and Aaron Jones led all rushers with 39 yards. So fans of offense were not fans of that game on Thursday night, but fans of the Packers said a win is a win is a win. Go through some of the other scores from the NFL. Minnesota Vikings really dominated the Atlanta Falcons 28-12. Game was 28-0. My favorite Viking fan in the whole world called me at halftime, saying, "Hey, we got this one. It's over." I said, well, I'm seeing some things here in this game that would cause me some concern if I was a Vikings fan. I said, I think it'll be tied in the fourth quarter. And it probably should have been, but as it turns out, this is the football and why they play the game instead of just me making my observations during the first half. But it was a bad effort by Matt Ryan and the Falcons on Sunday. Ryan had his team 21-0, down 21-0, had a first and goal early-ish in the third quarter, maybe 10 minutes into it. Threw an interception. Just can't do it. You throw an interception on first and goal as he lofted the ball to the corner. Just a bad pass. Bad thought. There was one Falcon receiver. There were 2 Viking defenders in the area. He doesn't do that, and they score. It's 21-7. And then the Falcons finally do score later, towards the end of the third quarter. Maybe it was even early fourth quarter. And then it would have been 21-14. Then I was on track. But as it is, 28-12, Minnesota over Atlanta. And then Detroit and Arizona play a barn burner down in the desert. Overtime game as Kyler Murray brings his Cardinals back, all the way back, as they were down by 8. He scores a touchdown late, 2-point conversion is good, and the two teams trade field goals in the overtime and tie. So you go from 10-3 on Thursday, and then in the first week of the 2019 season, we record our first tie, 27-27, Arizona and Detroit. So a little disappointing, I would say. And then 59-10. So we had a big score. We look at the other end of the spectrum. 59-10, Baltimore over Miami. And the Dolphins were never in it. Talk around certain parts this morning and last night. Dolphins, of course, the only undefeated team in NFL history. And can they be the first team then ever to have a undefeated season and a winless season? And some people think this Dolphins team is good enough not to win a game all year. Big score over in Cleveland. A lot of hype for the Cleveland Browns. They fall at home to the Tennessee Titans, 43-13. Get pounded at home. Baker Mayfield threw, I believe, 3 interceptions in that game. Bad news over there as well. And then wrapping up last night, New England takes care of Pittsburgh 33-3. And, of course, news over the weekend, the Antonio Brown saga over in Oakland hit its final mark as there was some disagreement, I believe, on Friday between the odd wide receiver, Antonio Brown, and the general manager, Mike Mayock. got into a disagreement, an argument, and a threat was made from Brown towards Mayock. These are the reports. And then Saturday morning comes the news that Antonio Brown is released. And just a few hours later, wouldn't you know it, the Patriots acquire Antonio Brown. Breaking news. And then, of course, the conspiracy theorists, and every group has them, and they have them in the NFL also. But conspiracy theorists, well, this was the plan all along. Patriots and Antonio Brown, they were talking behind the scenes ever since he was traded. The Steelers got a 3rd and a 5th round pick from Oakland to acquire the speedy star receiver. But Pittsburgh didn't want him anymore. That was a red flag, and usually players that aren't wanted anymore end up with Oakland. That part was not uncommon, but Pittsburgh said, we don't want him. And there are people out there saying now, well, the Patriots really wanted him, and the Steelers wouldn't trade to the Patriots. They didn't want to affect what they thought was a playoff team, so they dumped him with the Raiders. And then the plan all along was between Brown and the Patriots that Brown was going to act like an idiot for 6 months, which he did, and then get released. Patriots gave him the roadmap on how to use social media to get released. You got to hit conspiracy theories at their best, right? Social media awareness, and he was given strategies by people and by people at the Patriots to get released. And now, look, the Patriots have him. And then the Patriots beat the Steelers 33-3 last night, and now they'll add Brown to the roster. They'll be a tough team to beat. They were going to be a tough team to beat anyway. Now they will be a tough team to beat. And then Dallas Cowboys, 35-10 over the New York Giants. And I bring that up because, Dallas Cowboys are my pick to win the Super Bowl in 2019. B, it is really evidence for me, and it should be for the rest of you, that this preseason, these exhibition games probably are bunk. 2 players for the Dallas Cowboys didn't play a minute, didn't play a second in the preseason. Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott. And the first 3 plays of the game, it's 2 first down passes to Amari Cooper. Cooper scores a touchdown later in the game, all without the help of a preseason snap. Impossible. Looking forward to next week in the NFL. Week number 2 will be upon us before you know it. There is a Thursday night game, so that's just a few days from now. And before I get there, I'll remind you, Monday Night Football tonight, 2 games tonight. 6 o'clock, it's New Orleans and Houston. And then 9 o'clock, if you can stay up late tonight, you can watch Oakland and Denver. Man, 2 bad teams. You stay up late tonight, I'll give you a gold star tomorrow morning if you watch that game. Message over to the show and say, I stayed up the whole time to watch 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah, that's bad football tonight. All right, maybe I just should have skipped it anyway. Panthers and Buccaneers play Thursday night. Buccaneers not very good. Panthers okay. That's the Thursday night game this week. And then the Packers and Vikings get into it early this year. It'll be a noon start from Lambeau Field. 1-0 Green Bay, 1-0 Minnesota. And I would expect another low-scoring game over there as both teams, especially the Vikings, defensive-minded. And a division game, although those seemingly those division games can go either way. But Packers-Vikings, that's a noon start on Sunday. And then if you're going to watch one more game on the NFL schedule on Sunday, Rams and Saints at NFC Championship rematch, where all this stupidness about being able to challenge a pass interference play, the birth of it last year during the playoffs. They play each other again on Sunday. That's a 3:25 start on Fox. All right, moving over to baseball. I think we've had enough about football there. Again, though, a lot to go through. So you're listening to the Zaleski Sports Show again here this morning. Baseball action. Brewers still bad in the run differential. That fact hasn't changed. They're still negative 33 on the year in runs scored versus runs allowed. Usually not a recipe for a playoff team. They have, though, won 3 in a row. They are 6 games in the loss column, though, out of first place as the St. Louis Cardinals. They continue to win. In the last 10 games, both the Cardinals and the Brewers are 7-3, so they draw even over the last 10. But it's the Cubs and at the hands of the Brewers here. But the Cubs struggling here as of late. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So Brewers probably way too far into this final stretch here of the season to take a shot at a division championship unless somehow fortunes completely reverse and Milwaukee goes bonkers and everybody else, Cardinals, Cubs, come crashing in a hurry back down to earth. That's probably not going to happen, though. So Brewers' best chances in the wild card, 2 games back of the Cubs. So that's what it's going to take, as the Nationals are clearly in that first spot. And how it works, if you forgot or don't know, in Major League Baseball, there are 2 wild card teams. Those teams play a 1-game series at the end of the year to move on to what I'll call the actual playoffs, where they play and they meet up against the other 3 division winners. But the Brewers are still hanging around. They're 2 games out of the wild card. And a few weeks left here in the season. Anything can happen. That's kind of, and that's really what the Brewers are talking about right now. Is anything can happen, and it can. I don't know if it's going to happen to the Brewers, though. I don't know if they're part of the anything, but they want to be part of the anything. But they're through with the Cubs now after the weekend sweep. So they did what they could do against the Cubs, and they crawl back into it. They play 4-gamer here against the Marlins. So you got to beat Florida. And you probably got to beat them all 4 times. You at least got to win 3. And then you get a 3-game on the road against the Cardinals. And then you're at home for a week. And then you finish at home to end the season. Some more road games and home games for the Brewers, but they're going to have to capitalize on all of it. All right, got a big weekend again of football coming up. High school football. Be live in Marshfield over at ZaleskiSports.com, WDLBAM.com. Gene and Dale on the call. They will accompany the live stream. And then we'll have Thursday football as Loyal travels to Assumption. You can catch that, WFHR.com. And I will be on the call for that one down at Southwood County 2000 Field. And then more games around the area. Check the schedules on WDLBAM.com, WFHR.com, and ZaleskiSports.com. Guys, that is going to do it for today. Thanks for joining in. Again, big week of sports all around the area, from high school to college. Badgers won on Saturday. Drop that in there on the last minute. A huge win against Chippewas. Not much to talk about there, really. That's why we kind of skipped over that one. But another big week coming up here. High school football starts on Thursday, continues on Friday. College football Saturday. NFL football Sunday and Monday. And again, 2 Monday night games coming up. And volleyball, soccer, and everything else during the week. We look forward to it all, guys. Jason Zaleski here as we sign off for the day. Thanks again for listening, everybody, and have a great week. Go Sports.